All right, sweet. So we're live.
All right.
And so, hello everyone from the Legal Creatives world. Um, my name is Ali, and I'm the CTO of LawClick. I'm going to be co-hosting this session. Today, we have Elvis joining us. He's a mindfulness teacher, mediator, lawyer, and he's involved with Sagacia Consulting Incorporated. He's an adjunct professor at the University of Sherbrooke in the Masters of Dispute Prevention and Resolution program. He created an innovative 45-hour course that explores the potential of mindfulness in developing personal qualities such as impartiality, empathy, and integrity to be better able to deal with conflicts in a more ethical way. He also provides training in various organizational contexts on ADR and mindfulness. So his presentation is called Opportunities and Perils of the Attention Economy, the Power of Mindfulness. So without further ado, take it away, Elvis.
Thank you, Ali. I would just like to thank you and Tessa specifically for organizing this event. I'm very happy to be here with you guys today. Ali introduced me very properly. I teach mindfulness. That's the main thing I do. And in the specific realm of conflict resolution. So I know that today the presentation is, there are two streams. One is technology, one is creation. And okay. So yeah, the two streams are technology and creation. And what I wanted to do today is explore the opportunities and also the perils of the attention economy. So what I mean by the attention economy is, of course, the fact that technology has grown exponentially everywhere in our life and also in the workplace. So what I would like to explore is, yes, technology can be a very good opportunity for business, but if it's not used properly, if it's not used wisely, it can also be an obstacle. So without further ado, let's start the presentation. So today's workplace can be very well summarized with this acronym. It's called the paid reality. So P stands for pressured. So in a globalized market where we compete with the whole world, we're always expected to do more with less. In the last, roughly in the last 40 years, productivity has risen by about 75% thanks to technology, while wages have risen only by 9%. So we're always asked to do more with less. It's true in our business context, but it's also true at home with less money coming in. Well, we're always pressured by time, by the energy and the amount of material goods that we have. The A stands for always on. So in a globalized market and with the rise of technology, well, that means that business is running 24/7. Emails on a 24/7 basis was not a reality only 20 years ago. So it is always on, anywhere, anytime, any place, which involves and creates an artificial sense of constant crisis, which contributes to a feeling of overwhelm, overstimulation, and to a sense of being unfulfilled. We are so accessible all the time that we tend to shut down and we become inaccessible. The I stands for information overloaded. We're constantly bombarded by information in our daily life thanks to technology. So they say that in about a week of information you can find on the New York Times website. That's more information that you would come across in a lifetime if you were born in the 1800s. Another interesting fact is that the amount of technical knowledge doubles every 2 years. So there's a saying that says too much information kills information. Well, we're bombarded with information and we lose sight of what is important. And the D stands for distracted, which is with the rise of technology, well, there's also a rise of opportunities to distract ourselves with social media, news, Netflix, online shopping, and all those things. So what this creates for entrepreneurs, for people that have long-term objectives, is that we have something that we want to do that we consider important. And then what happens is that many different things come in from the paid reality, and they posture themselves as being urgent, but they're not necessarily important. And then you add on top distractions from left and right. And what you have left is, well, you had something important to do, but you're so overwhelmed and overstimulated that you don't even see what your real objectives are. So our attention is overloaded, distracted, and depleted. That's what happens in reality. So why is this important? Well, Accenture, which is one of the biggest consulting companies in the world, said understanding and managing attention is now the single most important determinant of business success. And why is that important? Well, because we've discovered that a study has shown that we are lost in thoughts about 46.9% of the time. And this default wandering mind is what we call the default mode network. So while we are wandering, while we generate spontaneous thoughts, well, it's the default mode network that is active. And this is the same regions in the brain that are always activated in that mode. The default mode network activity is correlated with anxiety and depression. And the conclusion of this study was a human mind is a wandering mind, and a wandering mind is an unhappy mind. So we're always on this autopilot, automatic mode, reacting to things that are happening because we're always overwhelmed. And I believe that technology has exacerbated this natural tendency of the mind to wander. So we can look at a few attention statistics. So the average user checks their phone about 150 times per day. 95% of people use their electronic devices in bed. And in 2000, the average attention span was 12 seconds. In 2015, it was down to 8.25 seconds. So that's roughly a drop of 30% in 15 years. The average attention span of a goldfish, well, it's 9 seconds. So you see that the mind has already a tendency to wander, and we add technology on top of that, it depletes our faculties of attention. So what can mindfulness do for us? Because the second part of the title of my conference is The Power of Mindfulness. So before we get into that, I wanted to share with you a bit about, I don't know if you guys know what mindfulness is or how it's used these days. So we're going to do first an overview of how it has developed in the West, and then we'll go into the definition and benefits. So in 2014, the Time magazine offered this issue where they said that there's a mindful revolution happening in society. So what do they mean by that? Well, today it's used in professional sports. You have here the coach of the Seattle Seahawks of the National Football League. They won the Super Bowl championship, and they use mindfulness to be better able to perform at a peak performance level. It's also in the workplace. This book was written by Chade Meng Tan, which is a guy from Google. He wrote a book called Search Inside Yourself, and it explores how mindfulness can help you better cope with daily workplace stresses. It's also in education, specifically in the Netherlands. They're very big at the elementary school level on mindfulness. And it's even in politics. Here you have Mr. Tim Ryan, who wrote a book called The Mindful Nation in 2012. And he explores how mindfulness could become the next big project of the United States. But he got crossed over by the United Kingdom, which commissioned in 2015 a report, a cross-party coalition report, that explores how mindfulness can be used in healthcare, education, and workplace. And the government there is funding in a lot of money to make it happen. So we can see that in the Western world, as soon as you try to interest yourself in the concept, it's used more and more everywhere. Simultaneously, there was also a scientific research boom that happened. So you can see that in the 1980s, there were from 0 to 5 studies that were published. And then in 2015, there's 674 studies that were published, peer-reviewed academic studies. You got to keep in mind that the field is still in its infancy. Not all studies are rigorous and robust methodologically, but we're slowly seeing the benefits of mindfulness. So what, in fact, is mindfulness? Well, Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, who is one of the pioneers in the West, gave this simple definition. He says, mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. So if we look more closely to those three elements of mindfulness, well, we have on purpose, which means deliberate conscious attention. We said before that the mind tends to wander all the time, or half of the time. Well, now the purpose is to make deliberate use of our attention, take it from where it's wandering and bring it to something specific that we want to look at. So why are we trying to look at the present moment? Well, present moment can be defined as what is here now, right? So anything that is your immediate reality that is accessible to your five senses. So it can be the breath, the bodily sensations, and eventually even thoughts and emotions and external environment. So when the mind wanders, it wanders either in the past or in the future. When you think about it, let's say I'm hungry, I'm going to think, what am I going to eat later on? So that's in the future. And then to know that, I'm going to ask myself, what did I eat in the past or this morning? So I'm looking at the past. And it's always a ping pong show between past and future. Now we're trying to deconstruct this tendency of the mind and bring it in the present moment. So why do we observe the breath or the bodily sensations? Well, it's as simple as you cannot breathe in the past and you cannot breathe in the future. The breath and the bodily sensations are always with you in the present moment. So if you observe that, well, you are automatically in the present moment. So how do we bring our attention on purpose in the present moment? With what attitude should we bring it? Well, it's without judgment. So what we mean by that is with curiosity, open-mindedness, acceptance, and recognition of what is here already. If you look at your wandering mind, you can see that all your life revolves around reproducing pleasure and avoiding pain. But if we bring a little awareness into that, we can see that not everything that is pleasurable is necessarily good for us, and not necessarily everything that is unpleasant or painful is necessarily bad for us. The mind has the tendency to judge as good something that's pleasant and as bad something that's unpleasant. But if I give the simple example of, let's say, an entrepreneur that wants to build a business over time, well, for a lot of that time, it's going to be unpleasant, but we know that it's for a bigger purpose, for an ultimate goal that we're looking for, which is living life on our own terms. So if we're able to bring mindfulness into that, in those moments where it's painful and our mind is screaming to quit, well, we can stay mindful and be able to go through those obstacles. So in the end, it's really a difference between being and doing. The wandering mind is always doing something. It's thinking about the past or regretting what happened, or it's preparing for the future, strategizing for what's going to happen. And now we're deconstructing that and just trying to be in the moment, being with whatever is present to us. So the breath and the bodily sensations. So what mindfulness is not? Mindfulness is not trying not to think. And that's the first trap of people that try to start to meditate. They think that because they can't calm their mind and they have many thoughts that they are actually failing at meditation. Well, that's not true, because it's impossible not to think. If I say don't think about the white elephant, what you're going to do, you're going to think about a white elephant. So a good meditation is not where you have a few thoughts, and a bad meditation is not where you have many thoughts. It's not about having thoughts, not having thoughts. It's about becoming aware of what kind of thoughts you have in that moment and accepting that. Mindfulness or meditation is not thinking either. In the Western definition of meditation, you could say, I will meditate upon this complex problem, right? Well, it's not trying to think. You're not thinking about your breath. You're not thinking about your bodily sensations. You're actually feeling the breath. So the opposite of not thinking is not thinking. It's feeling. And this is where we're trying to get at. Mindfulness is not either relaxing. Mindfulness is not trying to get you in any particular state. It's just about becoming aware and accepting whatever state you are in right now. If you're able to do that, well, a side effect can be that you will be more relaxed. For example, if I'm experiencing stress and I can accept the fact that I'm experiencing stress, well, half the battle is won, because I'm not generating more stress by being aversive towards my stress. So does mindfulness work? Well, that's a big question, because how do I know from your subjective experience that you are in fact less stressed, right? And this is a good thing that we can oppose to the science in general, right? Well, there was a famous study that was done by Harvard in 2011, where they took people, the beginner meditators, and they scanned their brain before and after a weight an 8-week mindfulness program. And during this 8-week mindfulness program, the participants were meditating about 27 minutes per day. So 27 minutes might sound a lot, right? But it's about the time of a Netflix or TV show episode, right? So it's a choice that we have to make at some point in our life. So what this study showed is that there's an increase in gray matter density in the hippocampus, a structure of the brain important for learning and memory, as well as structures associated with self-awareness, compassion, and introspection. And there's a decrease in gray matter density in the amygdala, which plays a major role in stress and anxiety. So there's an actual structural change in the brain that allows you to live a different reality. It's like going to the gym, you lift weights, your body changes, you are effectively stronger. So in the same way, you meditate, your brain changes, and you effectively become more aware, compassionate, able to learn. You're effectively less stressed. There have also been studies that have been done in the workplace world and specifically for leadership, and they took 57 senior leaders and made them go through an 8-week mindfulness program. And the findings were that their capacity for collaboration increased. They were able to respect the point of view of other people. They were able to cooperate, care more for their business and the people around them. Their resilience also increased. So the capacity to face adversity, having control over one's emotions, being confident, having a positive image of oneself, being able to adapt to change. And they were better able to navigate complexity. So being able to take fast decisions in an environment marked by uncertainty, being able to adapt one's leadership style, being flexible in one's way of processing information. So what mindfulness can bring you is the freedom to act consciously instead of reacting unconsciously to everything that's happening. So if we're facing an adversity, a challenge, whatever that challenge might be, the two classical responses are fight or flight, right? So flight would be a reacting unconsciously in a way where you're fleeing your problem into distraction, procrastination, fast food, excess alcohol, drugs, you name it. Or fighting in an unproductive way, like reacting unconsciously to this problem would be rudeness, irritability, anger, impulsivity, rumination, all those things. So between these two unconscious reactions, well, what you can create with mindfulness is a space where you slow down, you center yourself, and you're able to respond and be responsible to that problem. So you can act consciously with more competence, with more intelligence, empathy, and compassion. So it's a way of living that allows you to become the master of your own mind and thus the master of your own life. So thanks very much for listening. You can reach me by email if you want to share more thoughts about mindfulness or any information that you need. So thank you.
Thank you, Elvis, for the insightful presentation. So I'm going to assume that you are also available on the Slack channel as well. Yes, okay, sweet. So for the viewers who are listening on this stream, that we do have a Slack channel where you can join and ask your questions. It's all you have to do is go on to slackpass.io/legalcreatives. Once again, that's slackpass.io/legalcreatives. And you can join the Slack channel. You'll be there for quite some time to answer a couple of questions that our audience might have from you.
Great.
Thank you very much, Elvis. I highly appreciate that. Very insightful.
Thank you.
Take care.